It's just an online thing. Like
Um,
I'm guessing their names is. I'm about to look at it real quick.
we got to another we're like we got to be able to, give the Bleacher Report audience some insight now that we are season ticket members. As you know, well, for
Yeah.
those of you who don't know, now that you're a season ticket member, why'd you make that up for?
No, no, nothing.
I think I know what you're talking about. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another special edition of Houston Texans football on Beach Report. I am one part of your show, Ruben Carvillo, joined by the man Harley Dugan, dropping daily Houston Texans, Astros, Rockets, and Texans content at TheLead_Houston. We want to give a shout out to Bleach Report for allowing us to come on here, talk Houston Texans football. Big news coming up for the NFL draft. There will be a creator mock draft next week that I will be a part of. So I will be representing the Houston Texans. Then on the actual night one, round one, Harley will be breaking down whatever the hell the Houston Texans got going because Harley, whenever the NFL draft is on, General Manager Nick Caserio is going to try to make something shake. I mean, we've seen it every single time that he has had an opportunity to draft. Nick Caserio got something splashing.
Usually all the damn time. He's always trading. He's always doing something when it comes to draft day, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So we're used to not being staying pat. We're used to, hearing the news and the rumors and used to some movement when it comes to draft day. So, I still don't feel like, we're trading up from 25. If anything, it wouldn't shock me if they traded down. Um, but I don't see them trading up in the first round. I feel like they're gonna stay at 25. I think that's the prediction that they do stay at 25 and they don't move elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, other than that, when it comes to day two, I think the Texans could end up trading up. I really do. I think there are trading up some way somehow in day two.
Yeah, I do think they stay put at 25 and it's fireworks in the second round. Some people predict six wide receivers to go in the second round, and the Houston Texans definitely need themselves a wide receiver three slash potential two for the future. But we got some breaking news earlier this morning, Harley. Early this
Mhm.
morning, I might add. According to Ian Rappaport, the Texans agreed to terms on a 3-year contract extension with standout safety Jalen Pitre as he gets a roughly $39 million deal. Houston locks in another key member of its secondary. First Derek Stingley, now Pitre.
Mhm.
Houston continued to pay its young core. Your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I mean, we've been predicting this for quite a minute. We've been predicting this for quite a minute. We've been saying consistently, week in, week out, that see, man, we got some side jokes going on, man, but it's all good. Jalen Petrie, we've been constantly saying every single week, about a month now, maybe 2 months, that Jalen Petrie was going to get an extension. It
Mm-hmm.
just felt like it was going to happen and you were hoping that it could happen relatively soon. Um, do you have a problem with him getting extended? Do you have a problem with maybe maybe the Texans should have waited another year due to his injury history?
I mean, what injury history? Because he played 17 games in year
Mm-hmm.
one. He
Okay.
played 15 games in year two.
Mm-hmm.
He's there at training camp, and you know, I know a season-ending injury is still a season-ending injury, but we're talking about a torn pec here is what took out Jalen Pitre. So this notion that he is a injured player, I don't get it. Banged up, absolutely, but that just is because of the nature of how Jalen Pitre plays. He is a human torpedo, and that is exactly what he has been since being drafted by the Baylor Bears. The only thing that I kind of raised my eyebrow at was the fact that he's the highest paid nickel cornerback in the game now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like those 12 games were fantastic. He had a career high in tackles for loss. He had a career high in pass breakups. I think he had a pick six, but I know he also created other defensive touchdowns. Harley, when we were talking about Jalen Pitre last season, for the first 12 games, we were saying he is one of the best parts about this D'Amico Ryans defense. You can honestly say he was a top 5 member. Honestly, top 4, right? I would give to Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson Jr., Derek Stingley, no order whatsoever. But I'm saying, talking about those people impactful, those are the only ones I would say, yep, they were, they had much more of an impactful season than Jalen Pitre. So this was a key part of your defense. Um, and you lock it up for 3 years, bro. The Htown kid, when you talk about the swarm mentality, for those of you who don't know what swarm means, it is an acronym by our head coach, D'Amico Ryans. Special work ethic and relentless mindset is what he's been preaching. And since being drafted by the Baylor Bears, Jalen Pitre, you see the passion, you see the energy, you see why they selected him and traded up for him. And now, bro, this is, I think, Nick Caserio's third player that got a pretty hefty extension. So what does that tell you about Nick Caserio? The guys that he drafts become pretty good football players. We're not used to seeing homegrown talent re-sign with the Houston Texans. We're used to seeing them go to the Denver Broncos, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, and have themselves a Pro Bowl type of career and season.
Yeah, and I really do I agree with you. I had to talk about the injury conversation because that was one of the aligning points was that, oh well, Jalen Pitre gets hurt too much, and I'm like, well, he just had hurt this year, and he only had what 15 and 17 the previous two. I mean, overall, I don't see that as a point to say that Jalen Pitre didn't deserve the extension.
Mm-hmm.
Um, could they have said now saying that maybe they could have waited another year and
Fair.
have him prove it again? Okay, yeah, I guess that's fair. But I also combat that with, well, he did this exact same position at Baylor and was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. And in his first year, if he doesn't have the torn pec, he is definitely going into the rest of the year as, again, like you said, the key component to this defense. With him off the field, sure, there's some different conversations to be had with this defense. But he's very needed. He's very much needed. And Jalen Pitre deserved the money.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, happy for him.
Happy
Good for
for
him
him.
to get that money. Always happy to get a guy get that bag, did his thing. I expect the same of the same here from Jalen Pitre going on to the however many more years to come, 3-year contract. So hopefully he continues to move it and keep it going. The coverage is a question. That's the biggest one is, oh, well, he's not good in coverage. Well, for the most part last year, yeah,
Against
there were
you,
some
yeah.
times, you live with the good and the bad. And at the end of the day, he provides a lot more good than bad for this defense. Can he be exploited? Yes. But again, I will live with the good and the bad when it comes to Jalen Pitre here.
No, I 100% agree. And it was actually more good, more great than
Mm-hmm.
bad because Jalen Pitre, man, let's say you do wait till next season. That 3 years is going to become 4 year, and
Yeah.
that 39 is going to become 45, 46. Because if he plays a full season, if he plays in the postseason, Jalen Pitre is going to put out highlight film. And this might be a hot take, Harley, but the same way we talked about the Nico Collins contract is, wow, it is insane that Nico Collins is on this type of deal. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like in about 1 or 2 years, we'll be having that conversation about Jalen Pitre because I feel like he's just getting started. We're
Yeah.
talking about a year 3 that was very surprising because year 2 of Jalen Pitre was god awful. Everything
Yes.
wrong for him went wrong. And hey, I'll say it. I was one saying, man, I think Jalen Pitre needs to fight for his role. He needs to fight for his spot on this team, and he absolutely just flourished in his third year. So excited for the future of him, man. He's locked up long term, and we already said this Houston Texans defense is going to be one of the best in the NFL, alongside it the best secondary in the NFL. And man, you have this group tied up for about the next 3 years, Harley.
Yeah, I mean, you got Derek Stingley, you got Kamari Lassiter still on his rookie deal, but only
Kalen.
going into year two. You got Kalen Bullock going into year two. You just locked up Jalen Pitre. I don't know the contract details specifically for C.J. Gardner
It's
Johnson.
2 years.
So okay, you got him for another 2 years. So you got them all them guys, and then they extended Jimmy Ward during the season last year. Regardless how you feel about him, he's also on this defense, and when healthy, he plays good. He
When
plays
he's not
okay.
knocking out his
You
own
know,
teammates, yes.
exactly, and he still is a captain of this football team, and they very much entrust him with a lot of responsibilities on this team. He kind of reminds me, not that his play is going downward anyway, but it kind of reminds me of Roy Kent. Roy Kent
Mm.
was the captain of the team, maybe not the greatest player anymore, but still plays well enough. But the whole team is going to listen to Roy Kent just like Jimmy Ward. Shout out to
Mm.
Ted Lasso.
He's
The whole
here.
team is going to listen to Jimmy Ward and what he's preaching.
He's here. He's there. He's every freaking where.
Yeah,
Jimmy Ward.
yeah,
Jimmy Ward. We just need Jimmy Ward
definitely.
to stay healthy, man, because we know when he's on the field, some good things could happen. I mean, he had a pick six this season against the Tennessee Titans. He had a game-winning interception 2 years ago for you against the Denver Broncos, sealing the game for you, interception in the end zone. We just know he just can't rely. I mean, you can't rely on him to be there on Sundays, but you're not going to rely on him going forward because of the depth you have at safety. CJ Garner Johnson, Jalen Pitre, Kalen Bullock. I was about to say Eric Murray, but I forgot he got the absolute bag from the Jacksonville Jaguars. But we'll put this to rest, Harley. Jalen Pitre, 3-year deal. We both love it. And how is this the final move? Because we always keep on saying, is there one more deal that Nick Caserio can get done? I think officially he's done in free agency. He's done trying to rework deals. We're days away from the NFL draft, and I think it's all systems go for April 24th.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I will to answer that. Yeah, I think they are done. I think the Texans are about finished when looking at contract extensions. I think they are about. I mean, there's nobody else that needs an extension. So you checked off everything you needed to do this offseason in terms of getting extensions done. Okay, you made a blockbuster trade with Laramie Tunsil, and you needed to bring in some offensive linemen, whether or not they're good or bad. You brought in offensive linemen. Check. Okay. Now you're going into the NFL draft. You've done your thing this offseason. You did okay, I would say. I still think the offseason it's all right, A little bit of a cautious offseason considering what happened this
Mm,
previous year. And we all know that offensive line is of note. We know that the Texans need to improve and they need to hammer on getting some youth and some talent on the offensive line in the worst way possible. As currently constructed, we don't really know who's going to be the starters or
mm,
anything because of competition, but we know that the O-line is still uh, confusing very much. And so we know that Nick Casario and everybody, they're pretty much done, man. There's
mm,
nobody else unless they missed out on somebody in the draft that they really wanted. Then I can see maybe a free agent later,
mm.
going before maybe camp or whatever, even before preseason. I think the biggest thing we have to look out for is cuts for preseason. To me, that's a big thing. If there's somebody that gets cut that the Texans like enough, regardless of position, they could go grab somebody that we go, oh, okay, wow, that's a solid pickup. And unfortunately, you have to cut somebody else.
And you hope that's in the guard department because, like Harley said, with all the competition going, we have no clue who's going to be the starter in offensive line. But let me try to throw one out there for you, Harley. Uh, let's throw in one of my draftees here. So your starting left tackle, Harley, is going to be Cam Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Any disagreement there?
No, none.
You're starting left guard, Titus Howard.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I could agree with that.
You're starting center because they drafted him to be a center. Juice Scruggs.
Hmm.
Your
No
right,
problem there.
yeah. Your right guard is gonna have to be a rookie. Like there's no other choice. So put whoever we take in the first round there. And that right tackle, man, is Blake Fisher.
Yeah, possibly. That's
And
possibly your offensive line as of right now. I would say, uh, against without considering the draft, your right guard would probably be Lincoln Tomlinson or Ed Ingram. I would probably
oh,
give the head to Lincoln Tomlinson, considering he's a veteran. So, um, yeah, that's it ain't looking pretty.
it ain't looking pretty, but the bar is low. And dude, I just don't. Here's the thing, bro. I don't want us to be excited that CJ Stroud's no longer the second most sacked, but he's now the sixth or seventh most sacked. It's like,
Yeah,
we're comparing mid here. So I
yeah.
feel like, I mean, do you see a scenario where two rookies are starting on the offensive line? Like, let's
Oh,
say,
yeah.
so, okay, like, let's say you go, Gray Zabel in the first
Mhm.
round at
Okay.
pick 25.
Okay.
Greg Zabel, offensive guard out of North Dakota State. If I could read his draft profile, he's a versatile lineman with the ability to play just about anywhere along the offensive line, but likely projects best as an interior player in the NFL. With the thin center class in 2025, um, as well as Zabel's accurate snaps at the Senior Bowl, he could project as a center in this class as well. But he said that he applies a take no prisoners mentality, Harley, when he locks up at the point of attack as a shorter arm blocker who needs to work on knee bend. Zabel could face some limitations at the NFL at the tackle spot. So they're saying this guy's going to be a guard. So let's say he's your starting right guard. You took him in the first round. Um, and let's say there's a competition at left guard between either Lake and Tomlinson, Ed Ingram, and the rookie. And then you can have Titus Howard fight, with Cam Robinson for that left tackle spot. Unless you want to just have Cam Robinson be your left tackle, only have to worry about just one rookie starting on your offensive line, but you're hoping someone like a Dylan Fairchild could start later rather than sooner. Um, could you see two rookies, bro? Week one?
Oh, absolutely. I could see the Houston Texans double dipping in the offensive line market. Even within those first four picks, you could see maybe two offensive linemen of those first four right there. Um, there was a report coming from Matt Miller, who is ESPN's NFL draft analyst, um, talking about Kelvin Banks being high on the list for the Houston
Mhm.
Texans on their board. Whether or not it's true or fake, because it's I say that because how the hell do you know what Nick Casario and the Houston
And no
Texans are
one
looking at?
knows.
Nobody knows, man. Like, we had people that didn't know what we were doing at pick number 2 years ago, and we had Tyree Wilson mock drafts. We had
Will
Will
Levis.
Levis come in here. Like, nobody had a clue what the Houston Texans were going to do that year. And we ended up getting CJ Stroud and trading up for Will Anderson and said, F all of y'all, this is what we're doing. Little Miles Morales thing. I'm gonna do it my own way. And so yeah, so whether or not it's real or true, I hate to bury that report from Matt Miller, but I'm gonna have some doubt with the report. Not to say that the Houston Texans aren't high on Kelvin Banks. I agree that they are high on him, but is he going to be able to fall at 25?
Mm.
And to me, the more intriguing thing there is it's an offensive tackle. And are the Houston Texans looking at an offensive tackle specifically at 25, or are they looking just for whoever the best offensive line prospect there is at 25? That's, I think, the better question there.
Is Kelvin Banks one of those players that you don't mind trading up for alongside of Matthew Golden?
Man, I'm hesitant on it. I like Kelvin Banks. I think he's a fantastic player. I know I had Joe DeLeon, the college football analyst, on my YouTube channel, and he said that he would trade up for him if he's the Houston Texans. If he's available around 18, 19, 20, he would absolutely trade up for him. Now, look, you have a second round pick next year that you could throw into the mix. You also have a fourth round pick next year as well, too. So those are going to be definitely some bargaining chips whenever you go to look into trading up. If you want to use next year's picks, um, I'm hesitant. It's
Mm.
not to say that Kelvin Banks is a bad player, but I am hesitant on whether or not I want to trade up for him.
I just feel like if you do trade up for Kelvin Banks, he's going to be your left tackle, right? I don't think you
Yeah.
trade up for a guard. And the conversation surrounding Kelvin Banks is, do you want a really good left tackle or a really great left guard? Now you can argue that a good tackle is better than a great guard. And I mean, you can ask me a different day and I might say either or is the better option. But I wouldn't mind that whatsoever, but I just think there's a clear plan. This is your new franchise left tackle. If it's Matthew Golden, hey, this is someone who wants to be in Houston, has talked, has liked, has just did everything he could to show that he wants to be a Houston Texans and Matthew Golden. But then you always have to remember there's that, and one thing we haven't talked about, Harley, there's that CJ Stroud draft pick that is coming also. Year one, it was Tank Dell.
Mm-hmm.
Year two, it was Kate Stover.
Yeah.
Is there another CJ Stroud draft pick here? Draft pick here. Is there a second, third round Ohio State Buckeye that could potentially find his way to Houston?
Yeah, or some sort of connection or somebody that just CJ Stroud likes in general. Um, what's been very good is we haven't heard anything from CJ Stroud this offseason.
Yeah, let's talk
Um,
about that. Where is CJ?
nowhere to be
Where
found.
is CJ Stroud?
It's a where's Waldo conversation there because he is nowhere to be found when it comes to podcasts, anything,
He's not traveling the
YouTube.
world.
Yeah, traveling the world, which I still think it's a little overblown. I'm not saying him being in Japan with what's his Michael
Michael
Parsons
Parsons.
was affecting his play on the field. No, it wasn't that. It was probably a damn offensive line that couldn't block a lick. They couldn't block a traffic cone coming at them,
Mm.
and yet they're trying to block for our quarterback in CJ Stroud. Did his play go down a little? Yeah, it sure did. But I mean, we all know when you get him time in the pocket, he's still that dude. So I don't like to say, oh, that's what the problem was. At the end of the day, we haven't heard a peep from him, and you know, we haven't heard a peep from him, and I think that's kind of a good thing.
Mm.
I guess it is for fandom. For fandom's sake, it's a good thing, right? You're not hearing anything from him whatsoever. I know he's supposed to be on some NFL thing with Jaden
But that's what
Daniels.
like Hall of Fame people like Dan
Yeah,
Marino and
yeah.
who's the other quarterback?
There was someone else in there, maybe Kurt Warner. I think I don't remember.
Might be.
I know Jaden Daniels is in it for sure, because I saw his photo on the thumbnail with CJ. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that. I don't know who the Texans would be looking at that CJ might favor. Emeka Egbuka to me is still somebody I think the Houston Texans, if he is falling into the second round and he is available around 38, 39, 40, it would not shock me if the Houston Texans took some of that draft capital and traded
Mhm.
back up into the second round and got Igbuka to come here to Houston and have him pair up with CJ Stroud. That's the only one I could think of off the top of my head. I know the Texans met with Tyleek Williams, the defensive
I
tackle.
I just brought up his draft profile.
So, I know they brought him in for a meet. He's a run defender, big time run defender guy. That's about it. His pass rush could do a whole lot more for me, but he's an interesting prospect at the end of the day.
No, 100%. I'm just excited to see where that CJ Shaw draft pick comes, and we're getting closer and closer, man. Shout out to
Mhm.
Bleach Report allowing us to come on here talk Houston Texas football because not a lot of people get this opportunity. What's your what's your comfort level as far as the defense heading into this draft? Because I'm at a 8.5, 9. Like if you're gonna select someone for the defensive side of the ball, it's in the later rounds. It's depth pieces. Unless there's that one pick in the top four, and what I mean by top four is the top four picks in the top 100. If there's a defensive tackle out there, you brought up Mac McWilliams, a cornerback from UCF last
Mhm.
week. The Houston Texans, man, they can go anywhere. Maybe we're kind of putting on some blinders on by just looking at the offensive side.
Oh, for sure. I think a lot of people are. There is still some solid talent on the defensive side of the football. Defensive tackle specifically, there's a lot of good names out in this draft. You know, as much as I love Walter Nolan, I have no problem with some of the other guys they've met, like Tyleek Williams.
Mhm.
They've met with Kenneth Grant. Wouldn't mind that at all either. I mean, they met with the cornerback from Eastern Carolina. I want to say Sharon Ravel Jr.
Mhm.
Very solid cornerback that could really help this team a lot. You never have enough corners in the NFL. You never do. I don't care. I know we got probably maybe arguably the best secondary in football, and that's a lot to say there. But you never have enough corners in the NFL, and even with Ronald Darby being back there as well, I still think the Texans could look at a corner. Mac McWilliams is a very interesting prospect. I'm not sure I would not take him at 89.
Mm-mm.
That would be the last pick in the top 100 there. But then there's a big dip for the Texans, you know, and so it makes me wonder maybe if they wanted to trade up into the fifth round and take a Mac McWilliams. They don't currently have a fifth round pick, but they do have a fourth next year. If they wanted to trade that and try to insert themselves in the fifth round and go get themselves a Mac McWilliams, not a bad idea. And I'm sure he could play special teams. He looks like a guy that just gives it his
Swarming.
all on the football field. So, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other defensive guys out there that the Texans are, you know, this defense can never stop improving.
Mm-mm.
We can always do a lot on this defense, and that should be very much precautionary for the rest of the NFL.
I mean, which is why you still see some mock drafts with the Houston Texans taking a defensive player with pick 25, like a Walter Nolan, like a
Mhm.
Derek Hartman, and what a lot of those takes kind of have together with each other is it's like you are building yourself a Super Bowl caliber defense. Just look at what the Philadelphia Eagles, did to Patrick Mahomes. That could be here in Houston. And I would have to agree because I think the only spot where you might need to beef up is just the defensive tackle spot because there's just a lack of youth there. However, Harley, we are getting closer and closer to the NFL draft. Can you please let the people know where they can find you and all your latest work?
Yeah, you can find me at TheLead_HOU anywhere on social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or X, and YouTube as well. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. We just met the 13K subscriber goal. So appreciate all of y'all that have watched the content, subscribed. It's free 99. And again, super appreciative of Bleacher Report for giving us this opportunity to talk on Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, 6 o'clock Central Time, man. We'll be doing our thing. We'll be talking as much content for the Houston Texans as much as possible.
Mhm. Absolutely, guys. Do us all a favor. Make sure you have a real blessed rest of your weekend. For more Houston Texans content, come back for more Monday, like Harley said, 6 o'clock. You guys have a very blessed day.